gonna let the beat drop. Here we go. So, before we begin, I just wanted to share a super cool story that I shared on my Instagram right now. So, I go to the gym, right? I'm finishing my cardio. I'm doing bike, post-workout leg day. Things were going awesome. I was in the zone. I was hyped. In walks in this guy who's a little too jacked, a little too much size for his arm. Size for his arms, dumbass. His arms were too big for his age. I was like, wait a second, hold on, wait a minute. Something ain't right. Sure enough, it's my 5th grade teacher. Now, I didn't think I'd be able to get to a point in my life where I could say this, but I did the math and I was like, I did 5th grade when I was 9 years old. I'm 29 right now. And so I was like, that was my teacher 20 years ago. 20! And I was like, is that Mr. Adams? So I finished my cardio session, I go up to him, I'm like, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt your workout. He's like, you're not interrupting, it's not a bother. And I was like, I probably have the wrong guy. He was like, you probably don't. And I was like, are you Mr. Adams? And he's like, yes. And then it was just so cool. And then he shared with me his story, his life update. He was like, I've been retired for 8 years now, and I was in a wheelchair for a time. I have this rare neurological disorder that the doctor said I was never gonna walk again. And then I said, to heck with that. I'm gonna go from my wheelchair to crutches to walking, and now he's at the gym, and the guy has to be in his 70s. And I was like, I shared with him a story because I remember it was like my last day before graduating, being promoted to the 6th grade, where he made me look him in the eye and make him a promise that I would go back and return to the school one day, and I never did. But that 9-year-old never forgot that, because my word means everything to me, even at 9 years old. As in, any promise that I've ever made to anyone that has been unkept, I've never forgotten it. And so that was just super cool, because it was kind of like repentance. I was like, all right, this is me absolving myself of this sin. And then he was like, what have you done? How's life been for you? And then I shared with him, my story to date. I shared with him even this university. And he was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm glad you turned out okay. And then I said, well, when you have, great influences like you, it makes it rather easy. And I shared with it on my Instagram, but the cool part is you never forget those kind of early on mentors or influences that exemplify the quote, life is about planting trees under whose shade you will never sit. As in, this guy, imagine a 5th grade teacher whose arms were always hugging his sleeves, who would walk here, and even today when I shook his hand, it was a firm handshake, look me in the eyes. They don't teach you that etiquette and professionalism and how to be a man in today's modern world. And so all it does is revitalize and invigorate the importance and the severity of this very university, because that generation is about to be lost forever if we don't make men what they used to be. As in, I shared this on my story, is a guy who taught me character, discipline, work ethic, professionalism, how to show up correct, how to be the standard in the room. And I was, not to boast, I was the smartest person in that class, and he knew it. And that's why 20 years later, he still remembered me. And vice versa though, because he planted a tree under whose shade 20 years later he did not ever know that he would sit. And the last thing he said before I walked away, he was like, you made me feel 10 years younger today, thank you. So, awesome. Here we go. Law number 3. Conceal your intentions. Now, before we begin the notes, the first time I did this law with class, in this video, Route Life University, law number 3 by Robert Greene, is sponsored by Egg Whites, Kirkland brand from Costco. Go ahead and get you some today. I told you guys for this diet, we're getting shredded. And this tastes like chocolate milk because I put sugar-free Hershey syrup in here. So you don't even know you're drinking Egg Whites. If I were to have you close your eyes and open your mouth and put this in there, you'd be like, this tastes exactly like chocolate milk. For 246 calories, 49 grams of protein, hard to beat. Delicious. But back to the topic at hand. So I was working my rat life job of Target, senior year, 20 years old at UCLA. And I knew that I was on my way out. I knew that this was a means to an end. I knew that the day I was gonna be putting in my 2-week notice. But they didn't. I showed up to work every single day with the biggest smile, with the best attitude, with "How are you, Tarek? Amazing." As if I loved every second of it. I had my entire leadership superiors completely fooled. As in, they were like, this person is so in line with the cause. He just lives and breathes and loves Target. And I had a promotional job readily available for me after my seasonal time that they thought they could, dangle sort of the carrot kind of a deal in front of me. But I knew exactly where I was going. I knew that this was a means to an end. I knew I was putting my 2 weeks. I knew I was graduating, and I knew I was getting the fuck out of there. But I had concealed my intention to perfection until it was time to say checkmate. And that wouldn't be the last time that I would do that. And we'll get into the notes in a second, but the second time was when I pursued entrepreneurship. I don't want to ruin it, so let's just get into the notes, but then I'll share that second story with you once we get there. Here we go. Conceal your intentions, law number 3. So to reiterate, what was the first law? Never outshine the master. What was the second law? Learn how to use your enemies. Never put too much trust in friends. It was 2 notes to that law. Third law, conceal your intent. Conceal your intentions. Here we go. By being completely insincere and sending misleading signals, he deceived everyone, concealed his purpose, and attained everything he wanted. Such is the power of hiding your intentions. By being unabashedly open, you make yourself so predictable and familiar that it is impossible to respect or fear you, and power will not accrue to a person who cannot inspire such emotions. And so the first topic I want to talk about is the power of silence / ignoring people, and I put in parentheses work and women. So I learned this the most from the first time that I read these laws, because I read up until the halfway point. I think I got to law 24, 25, the first time I read the 48 Laws of Power, and then I stopped. I had taken a huge break from my personal development journey, and that was actually the last book. It was either book 26 or 28 that I closed, and it would be like a year and a half before I'd pick up reading these incredible pieces of literature again. And I remember putting that exact law into practice to say less than necessary, and this is what you find. That's actually law number 4. But I put the power of silence in concealing your intentions because they tie in together. When you conceal your intentions through the power of silence, it makes the other person very uncomfortable to where they fill in the silence. And I notice this traveling a lot, that if you are so secure with yourself that you can just be comfortable in silence, people who don't have that same security, they feel the need to babble and to talk. And it's their nerves and their anxieties and it's their insecurities, and they reveal everything you need to know about them. I would do this all the time when I would be dating with women. As in, I would say way less than I knew. It's actually the last point in here. It's learning to play the fool, to fool the fool, to presume to be lower than your mark, intelligence-wise. And so you play, the jester, the fool, the courtier in the workplace, or the person who, doesn't know or just, is aloof when you're on a date with someone, and you get to see all of their everything because they share it, they reveal it. All of their weaknesses, all of their insecurities, all of their fears, all of their projections, by just being silent, by just being mysterious, by just being ambiguous. And then the other note that I put, it works so powerfully in texting if you just ignore them. And again, we're jumping ahead to law number 4 here because law number 4 is always say less than necessary, but I put it in a note for this one, so we're going to discuss it. If you just do not reply to someone in a very quick manner, you can increase the respect. That was the line that I'm referring to. It says, by being unabashedly open, you make yourself so predictable and familiar that it is impossible to respect or fear you. Women, and this works for guys too, because I remember I was training my clients, and I'll come back, I don't lose my train of thought, my client's sister, and it was so stupid, and I fucking hated her for saying this, but she said, I purposely don't reply to guys quickly because I like to see them squirm and second guess themselves. And I thought, what a fucking snake of a woman. that she does that shit on purpose, excuse me, to make the guy feel unsure about himself. And I said, that's not a class act of a woman at all. However, despite her snakery, it's incredibly effective. And I can share it from the man's perspective and point of view. So good. If women will shit test you as a man. If you simply ignore them and act as that mirror, they will correct their shitty behavior that they think or presume that you are about to tolerate. And so you make a woman come correct by simply not replying quickly. And I've had this happen it never fails. If you simply do not reply when a woman is being slick, when she says something smart, and when I say like smart as in something that it's testing your tolerance level of disrespect. If you simply ignore it, they will second guess themselves. They will reread the text that they sent that did not get opened or that got left unseen, and they will question their own behavior. And you make them iterate without saying or doing anything to where they come back correct, and that's how you condition behavior within other people. So this is taking power manipulation, but not manipulation in the sense of it's behavior conditioning to the highest level by what you choose not to tolerate. Because let me be explicit. If you tolerate disrespect from the jump, you're setting the precedent that that's okay. So if you want people to respect you, if you want to increase your power, whether that's with women, whether that's in the workplace, simply act as that mirror. And you'll see the shitty behavior that they know they're doing get self-corrected, because they, like my client's sister, her suitors, become self-conscious. They second guess their actions. They're like, wait a second, this isn't a guy like everybody else who allows me to get away with this shit because of how I look, because I'm beautiful, because I'm pretty. He doesn't give a shit about that. It insinuates that he has options, or that he's a man who respects himself. If you would like to earn the respect of other people, the greatest and fastest way, I learned this from Andrew Tate, is to simply not tolerate disrespect. So that is such a powerful thing in terms of concealing your intentions, but simply to let your opponent, your enemy, the person who you're trying to seduce, whatever, reveal their hand, show their cards, show their flaws, weaknesses, insecurities, projections, fears, all of that garbage by you simply acting as a mirror, by you simply being silent, by you concealing your intents. Welcome to the lecture, Ratliff University, law number 3. Welcome to class, here we go. So that is the power of silence/ignoring people. And to reiterate one more time, by being unabashedly open, you make yourself so predictable and familiar that it is impossible to respect or fear you, and power will not accrue to a person who cannot inspire such emotions. So, incredible food for thought. Here we go. Hide your intentions not by closing up with the risk of appearing secretive and making people suspicious, but by talking endlessly about your desires and goals, just not your real ones. You kill 3 birds with 1 stone. You appear friendly, open, and trusting. You conceal your intentions. You send your rivals on time-consuming wild goose chases. So that's what I exemplified while working at Target, hands down, because I appeared incredibly friendly. Hey, how are you? Amazing, every single day. Excuse me. Anytime they'd ask me to do some, rat life. Excuse me. I keep burping. That's gonna be the side effect of you drinking this. Rat life task and endeavor. Oh, no problem. I'd love to. Happily, right? All the while concealing my intentions the entire time with perfection. Now, this is small scale, but you can apply it to a bigger scheme. Properly set up, the smoke screen is a weapon of great power, concealing your real motive and intent, right? So and you can extrapolate this to the political arena of today. They're distracting you with all this garbage while they're, to use it crudely, raping you in terms of financially, in terms of your mental health, in terms of the oppressions taken away from your freedom. Like, you don't understand that. The bipartisan garbage of it's you versus me from having a different point of view. It's race versus race. It's male versus female. It's all of that is bullshit. It's all garbage distractions while they plow you, while they bend you over and have their way with you. In terms of, we could go down the financial rabbit hole, right? You're working a job that gets taxed. The money that you get after it's been taxed, you use and you pay tax on whatever you buy. That you get a car that's been taxed, and I saw a video on this, and it was just the amount of times you are getting financially raped in terms of the government taking your money, the banks taking your money, your work job taking your money, to the breadcrumbs and scraps that you're getting for something that in and of itself isn't real, that the Federal Reserve prints. So you're trading your life like a good docile slave for a finite amount of pieces of paper that they can print an infinite number of. And while you're working your rat life job, getting wrecked and wrecked and wrecked, getting the breadcrumbs like a good rat in that wheel, in that maze, they can print more money, put more money in the supply, make your money worth less. So imagine that. I put $100 into my bank. Fractional reserve banking aside, where they can loan out 90% of that. Let's ignore that fact. I put $100 in the bank, and now, due to inflation, from what they're doing with the printing, my money is now worth $80. They can steal from you without even opening the vault, you fucking slave, if you do not wake up. All it is a proper smoke screen. Let me distract you, get you fighting amongst each other, getting you scrolling on Instagram, flooding you with the numbing from over your dopamine receptors are getting wrecked. You have no gratitude and appreciation for what's right here. Let me distract you with the comparison trap, with you feeling with all these filters, with all this FOMO, with all this garbage. Let me put you in the festival crowd. Let me get you around drug addicts and alcoholics and fucking losers. Let me get you feeling so miserable, numb, depressed, as if you're behind, and let me make you so you do not fight back, so you do not question the society that's raping the fuck out of you. Let's not have you think for yourself. Let's distract you. I saw a great video on this on Instagram the other day. When Rome was burning, what did they do? They had endless circuses to distract the people as the empire was crumbling to its fucking knees. What do you think is going on in the world today with all this garbage, with all these politics, with all this... don't get me started. The feminist movement, the Black Lives Matter, the Russia-Ukraine, the fucking list goes on. And it's going to continue to perpetuate like that unless you stand guard at the doorway of your mind. It's the first book that we read, one of the first books by Jim Rohn. I think it was My Philosophy for Successful Living. As in, if you don't wake up, then every single time they do another bullshit smokescreen, whether it's COVID, anytime they do this garbage, you will fall victim to the circumstance and conditions, right? Always. You'll be a whim to them. But if you stand guard at the doorway of your mind, you'll be able to see through all of this bullshit deception. Thus, the power of the 48 Laws of Power. By you gaining and garnering a cognizance of them, you'll be mentally equipped to be aware of them, to combat them, to fight back, right? Not just letting life happen to you, right? Don't be a feather in the wind. Happen to life, right? Here we go. So, properly set up, the smoke screen is a weapon of great power, concealing your real motive and intent. If the last 4 years hasn't taught you that, you're still asleep. So I would encourage you to wake the fuck up. Red pill. Take it, along with your Hershey 0-calorie, sugar-free, chocolate, delicious egg whites. All right, there's literally only 2 more points. Like, we're getting through this lecture rather quickly. Here we go. It takes patience and humility to dull your brilliant colors, to put on the mask of the inconspicuous. Do not despair at having to wear such a bland mask. It is often your unreadability that draws people to you and makes you appear a person of power. So that has to be my biggest frustration with working the rat life 9 to 5 right now. Is it was blurry for a second there. Did you guys see that? Let me slowly go out. Could be in my contacts as well. I went and I tanned. I don't know if you can see the darker color. And then I went to the jacuzzi for a little bit after my amazing leg day and seeing my 5th grade teacher 20 years later. But in terms of the patience and humility to dull your brilliant colors, that has to be my biggest frustration with seeing these laws played out in real time from the snakery in the workplace, where you have to act as one of those courtiers. Because I'm seeing it, I'm seeing the power of it, And you can position yourself, if you're a little snake weasel rat like somebody who I know, and have an immense amount of power, but again, outside of the building that you work, your title doesn't mean shit. Like when I could grab you by your throat and end you, like the presumed power and authority, it's all garbage, it's all a facade. At the end of the day, and I shared this with a coworker, what you are is your word. What you are is the man who you are when no one's watching, when no one's in the room. That's what character and integrity is. It's the things you do day in and day out when no one's watching. So I don't give a fuck if you play these stupid ass snake treachery games when I know outside of this building you're not even a man. You don't have a wife who respects you. And if you don't have that basic premise, then what victory do you have in this pathetic, sad weasel of an existence that you've, to quote Spartacus, mired yourself in? So I don't take it personally in that sense, because I generate and garner an immense amount of pride in myself by knowing who the fuck I am when this camera's off. And all it is a consistency with my character and integrity and my word when no one's watching, when no one else is in the room. I know I'm the same person on camera as I am off camera. In fact, probably even more so of a teddy bear off camera. I'm so smart. I'm so sharp when I'm around other people. And I've had to play the courtier and be a master observer for 20 years of my entire journey. And I don't know if that's because of being raised by a single mother. I don't know if that's just how my mind works, but I've been so good at studying human nature because maybe that's something that just intrigued me. Why do people do the shit that they do? And so everything from body language to tonality to things that people do in their communication, in how they can rope people in their oratory, in the rhetoric, in their persona, in the character they've chosen to play. I'm so observant and sometimes inspired, sometimes repulsed by how powerful something like your actions are, how powerful something like your words are, how powerful something like conceal your intentions are. And so when you apply that to the rat life job and you get to see all this shit transpire in real time, you realize nothing's changed. The workplace, and even Robert Greene says this in the book, it's the same fucking courtier arena as it was during Renaissance times. Nothing's changed except the civility of the consequences that, you don't get murdered. You would just get dismissed or fired should the treachery, get too out of hand. So we've become more, quote, civilized, but that's a very untrue statement. I'm unwrapping my cage-free pasteurized egg white. But yeah, so to hammer that point home, I have to do that all the time. It's actually such a big frustration where I have to play the fucking fool to fool the fools around me. I have to seem aloof, to seem stupid, to seem less intelligent than I am, to dim my colors, to have a bland face, because I can spin the arrangement with whoever that I'm working with to effectively get what I want out of the interaction. It's such a game, it's all bullshit, but that's the reality of the rat life job. And I saw great videos by Johnny Depp, and he said, he was going off of the quote, "Most men lead quiet lives of desperation." And he said, you know what people are craving? They're craving to be themselves. And they live in a world where they can't be. And it's exactly like that when you're working the fucking rat life. As in, you don't get to be yourself. You don't get to speak the truth. You have to be a good, docile, head-nodding, complacent, obedient, fucking slave rat in that workplace, where you're bending the knee, bending the head to these superiors who lack any sort, I wanted to use a bigger word, any degree of character, of merit, of work ethic, of discipline, of integrity. They don't have a fucking clue what perseverance is, what real work ethic is, what leadership is, and yet they're making 2x your salary. And so it's fucking clown world, to say the least. I was sharing this with Ricardo the other day. I said, when you look at tribal times, not, a couple thousand, few thousand years ago, we'll say 10,000 years ago, 10,000 to 12,000 years ago. Never in the history of that time could a beta cuck motherfucker be in an elite position of power. But yet that's omnipresent in the courtier workplace world that we live in today. As in these fucking runts who have not a shred of a degree of character, of merit, of a warrior-like alpha spirit outside of this fucking building, who would never stand at the vanguard in a fight, in a battle, right? Those are the people who are leading your charge, and it's a joke. It really is. When you have to sit there quietly, and you have to dim your bright colors, and you don't have the same level of, Ray Dalio calls it, in workplaces, you live in an idea meritocracy where people's decisions are weighted based on believability, and that's tied into your expertise in the field. And when you have something like youth, right? So I'm 29 and these people are twice my age. When you have something like inexperience, imagine you're playing a video game, and I've talked about this before. There's PvP, player versus player, what actually takes skill, and PvE, player versus environment, as in the mechanics are already built in. That's exactly what it's like working in a job. And so you're around all these fucking nerds who take this shit so seriously of everything that doesn't matter. As in, all of their stress is made up, all of their worries and concerns are made up, all of their, anxieties are made up, and all of their excitement over their shitty titles, it's all elevated. They literally have a superiority complex like the fucking nerds in the PvE raids who go and they fight the same boss who does the same fucking mechanic that requires no skill. Like, that's the people in the rat life. It's the same shit. It's the same thing as the video game. They think they're, better, smarter, everything, when they don't know what it's like to be the man in the fucking arena. They don't know what it's like to play against another player. They've never been to the fucking gym before. They don't know what giving their all means. They have no idea, like I said, of what perseverance is, right? Of that never say die attitude, of when you're in a fight, when you're in a battle. They don't know what it's like to be that William Wallace, that Spartacus, that Alexander, that Leonidas. They haven't a fucking clue, and yet those are your leaders, right? And so that is always something that has frustrated the fuck out of me, that I'm living out in real time for now. To finish, another effective smokescreen is the pattern, the establishment of a series of actions that seduce the victim. Ooh, not to finish, there's still a little more on the next page, guys. How exciting. That seduce the victim into believing you will continue in the same way. It is powerful in that it deceives the other person, sorry, the AC's on, it's blowing into my contacts, into expecting the opposite of what you are really doing. I hopefully you heard that, even though I butchered saying it, but I put in quotes rounders. So if you ever seen the movie Rounders, right, where Matt Damon is playing against, I don't know the actor's name, but they're playing poker, and he checks the entire time, and then all the while he's scheming to go for the jugular, and then goes all in when, and then the guy calls him, thinking that he won, when he really had the hand, and then he was playing him the whole fucking time. It's that idea of, he talks about the best smokescreen, one of the most powerful, is the pattern. That's exactly what I did in the job that I had at one of the schools that I worked at prior to pursuing entrepreneurship, I applied that same sentiment of concealing my intention, but it's in the last point, but I'll just reiterate it. Until it was time to say checkmate, as in, I knew that I was exiting, I knew I was going to pursue entrepreneurship, I knew when I was going to put in my two weeks, and when it was too late for my coordinator, my superior at the time, to do anything about it, you just see them panic and freak out and squabble. Not that I was doing any sort of snakery, I wasn't leaving them high and dry, I wasn't doing any of that, but it completely was enacted concealed intention, that they thought they had you figured out as this good, docile, compliant rat who's happy with his slave wage for an indefinite amount of time, when you have your own agenda and you know exactly where the fuck that you're going. And so it ties in with the power, an effective smokescreen of the pattern. When, just like in the movie Rounders, check, you're showing up to work every day with a smile on your face, beaming, great attitude, all of this, but all the while, you're not losing sight of why the fuck that you're there. And that's the biggest important thing, is the workplace and the rat life is so seductive in the sense of comfort. As in, if you don't stand guard at the doorway of your mind, you will blink and it'll be 10 fucking years from now and you'll be in the same fucking place. And that increase that you're slaving away for, inflation is outpacing. So it's so important that you stand guard at the doorway of your mind, that you don't drop the oil from the drop of spoon that you carry from the alchemist, that you are very perspicacious, right? You allow manipulation from your enemy to see where they want you to go, and then you use your mind to break the trap and punish the perpetrator. As in, I'm not going to let anyone distract me from my target, from my destination, from my path. I know exactly where the fuck that I'm going. So this carrot that they're dangling, this incentive that they're encouraging, this promotion that they're incentivizing you with, it's all bullshit, it's all a distraction, it's all noise. Stand guard at the doorway of your mind, conceal your intentions. To finish, have you ever heard of a skillful general who intends to surprise a citadel, announcing his plan to his enemy? Conceal your purpose and hide your progress. Do not disclose the extent of your designs until they cannot be opposed, until the combat is over. Win the victory before you declare the war. In a word, imitate those warlike people whose designs are not known except by the ravaged country through which they have passed. I read that and I thought, holy fucking shit, that was awesome. That's one of the things that I love the most about reading this book, is you read things like that and you're just like, fuck, I love this. I love this because it really makes learning and history come alive. Like when you hear, I think it was a general who wrote that, or it's a leader or commander from, it could be over 1,000 years ago or hundreds of years ago. When you read things like that, it just, for me personally, it just invigorates so much excitement and it makes me fall in love with what I'm doing again, and which I love so much. And so I just wanted to share that, but that's exactly what I've done in the Rat Life jobs, is you're concealing your purpose, you're concealing your intent until it's time that your plans can't be opposed. And I like what they said, that win the victory before you declare the war, and to not promote your progress. And that's something that I've done so much in the past, is sharing a dream, not being careful about who I share my dream with. And I've had it time and time again where if you do not protect your dream, you will share it with someone who, Drake has a good quote, he's like, you have to be very careful who you share your dreams with, because people who are small-minded, they'll perceive your goals as bragging, because you're like, oh, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, and then they're thinking like this. It's that quote, don't share $1 million vision with, you know, a $10 mind or a $100 person or something. You know what I'm trying to say. But that's the sentiment, is you have to protect your dream, you have to protect your vision, and this is the reason why. People are so oblivious and irresponsible with their speech that they do the most heinous of things. They don't act like 5th grade Mr. Adams, who plants trees under whose shade he will never sit, right? Who plant those seeds of belief, of encouragement, of support, of how to be a great man in the future. That's not what people do if you don't protect your dreams, in terms of being very careful who you share them with. What motherfuckers will do is they'll inspire fear. They'll inspire doubt. They'll inspire hesitation. They'll say stupid shit like, be careful, or what if this happens, or this. Because your courageous pursuit of your success, to plagiarize Greg Plitt, is a spotlight shining down on their missed opportunity. When they see you succeed, when they see you have the courage to pursue in the same window of time of opportunity that they themselves had, they hate you for it, because all you're doing is shining that spotlight, exposing their cowardice. So when somebody is on the defense, a fucking spectator, a critic of life, and they see a man in the arena like you have the courage to pursue your success, or your just courageous pursuit of your future endeavor, your future success, is screaming to them, who the fuck could I have been had I had the courage to try like you, like him, like her, right? But because I was too much of a pussy, because I was a coward, I have to spend the rest of my life with the agony, the burden of regret, of what if. And I have to be reminded every day by this person. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, be careful. I'm going to say, what if this happens? I'm going to project all of my bullshit fears, insecurities, hesitations, and doubts onto you in the hopes that it'll deter you from your path. I would encourage you to stand guard at the doorway of your mind, and if that ever happens, tell them to go fuck themselves, because you have nothing to lose by going for it ever. When I pursued entrepreneurship and it failed horrendously, thousands of dollars in debt, right? Living in my car for 93 days, right? All those things. Lo and behold, you can get another job. You can always get another apartment. You'll be able to remedy the debts. You'll be able to climb out of the hole. You'll stop digging, right? You're not gonna die. It's gonna be fine. Everything's gonna be okay. You have a track record of a 100% success rate, a 100% survival rate of your worst days. It's probably gonna be fine. So when you see these cucks, when you see these beta males, when you see these pussies, these spectators, these critics of life, who inspire weeds in your garden, right? In the form of seeds of doubt, of fear, their projection, their limiting beliefs, you politely, kindly conceal your intentions with or without saying, go fuck yourself. I'm not a coward. I'm not a victim. I'm a hero. And I'm going to have the courage to believe and the courage to pursue. And with that, to finish the lecture, in such cases, as your cunning and deception practices being known, it is better to own up, to appear, I just wrote this because I liked it. So if you're someone who's known for their deception, it is better to own up, to appear the honest rogue, or better yet, the repentant rogue. Not only will you be admired for your frankness, but most wonderful and strange of all, you will be able to continue your stratagems. I thought that was hilarious, so that's why I wrote it. So if you're known for being a fucking snake, and then you're very public about your snakery, then your honesty will be admired. And so that's Robert Greene colorfully in the Laws of Power, and probably in his other books, the other laws, and techniques and strategies. He shows you the law in effect and the reversal of the law. And so he gives you the full picture of how it can work, how it can also work, when it doesn't work, etc. So I love it so much. But the last line to finish the notes of this law number 3, which was what? Conceal your intentions. Powerful people with bland exteriors can practice their deception for a lifetime. And the person who I thought of was Vladimir Putin. When you watch the interview that he did with, is it Chris Tucker, Carl Tuckerson? Oh man, I'm butchering his name. Awesome guy, incredible journalist, such a wholesome American. And you watch that interview where he's not raking our president, our current commander-in-chief, over the coals. He's such a professional strategist with his bland exterior, to finish this last point, because if you're an opposing country, and when I say opposing in terms of a world power, a competitor on the global stage, and you see the joke that is our current administration, why would you want to call that out, right? Why would you want to shine a spotlight on how garbage this country is and where it's going? And when I say how garbage this country is, don't mistake me. I'm loud and proud. I love my country. I love America. And I say to anyone who's ever driven in a car with me, anytime I see a flag, I say, fuck yes, I love America. The bigger the flag, the better. I'm just like, God damn, that's amazing. Fuck yes, right? I love it. What I'm saying is we have these garbage snakes in our garden that are purposefully, meticulously, treacherously planning, schemating the demise of our beautiful, God-given country in fucking real time. It's evident in the DEI bullshit. It's evident every fucking day. The pride flag that you're seeing in the fucking classroom, the sex and transgender and bullshit that children are being exposed to, the chemical castration of children across schools, the disgust and degeneracy that's in the curriculum of schools, that when the parents go to the board meetings, they get their mics muted and they're fucking silenced for it. Yeah, all this garbage that's happening real time, not an accident, right? Not an accident. The amount of people who identify with LGBT going from 0.8% in traditional generation to over 20% in Gen Z today, not an accident. Not an accident. So all of this garbage that they're doing on purpose to divide the people, to literally be the end of fucking civilization, for people not to produce, for people to get so far astray from family values, such as having children, believing in God, having a great marriage, inviting the idea that it's such a great thing to be a mother, to be a wife, but that's demonized and that's looked as down upon as less than. So you should be this independent boss babe, dumb bitch in this world today, pursuing your fucking career, forfeiting a family, the most beautiful thing in the world. That's all happening on purpose, and it starts with your leadership or lack thereof in our country. And so someone who's such a professional in the game of the political arena and deception, with such a bland exterior that you would, he's so good and easy to fool the fool and appear the innocent rogue. I thought of Vladimir Putin in that interview with, I think his name's Carl Tuckerson, where he didn't bash our current president. In fact, he was like, oh man, he's doing such a great job. Yeah, you wouldn't say that he's doing a fucking horrific job and seeing the literal implosion of this beautiful country in real time, because as somebody outside, you want to see this power, the superpower, the one who is soon to go off the world's reserve currency, to fucking crumble in real time right in front of you. That is the power of the bland exterior, to be able to enact your deception for a lifetime. So with that, I hope you enjoyed. Law number 3 out of 48. We are well underway. And with that, this is Rat Life University, semester 3, office hours. Law number 3 of the 48 laws of power: conceal your intentions. My name is Professor Tarkhouse, and we are all gonna make it. What is Rat Life? It starts with belief. Anyone can escape. It starts with belief and the courage to pursue. That is Rat Life. This is Rat Life University, and we are all gonna make it.